Hello everyone. So in this video we are starting with Unit 3 Database Management System. Session 1 Appreciate the concept of database management system. So first of all, let us understand the concept of data and information with some examples. So basically, data is some raw or unorganized fact that is needed to be processed. And data can be something that is very simple and it is random. It is not actually organized. And when that data is processed and organized in a structured and meaningful way and it is presented to us, then that is known as information. So database is basically the organized collection of data and we can visualize it as a container of information. So let us understand with an example what is the difference between data and information. Suppose if we take your name, age, height, weight, etc., then these are the some data that are related to you. So a picture, image, file, PDF, etc. can also be considered. For example, 165 centimeter, Lajpat Nagar, Ram Kumar, 16 years, etc. These all are data. They don't have any particular meaning. These are just simple random values that are known as data. So data on its own has no meaning or context. Now after processing these examples, suppose I write Ram Kumar of 16-year age, having height of 165 centimeter, lives in Lajpat Nagar. Now the data that has been provided to us, using that data we have framed this sentence. So this sentence becomes now data can be categorized as follows. Flat file, that is data is stored in a single table and it usually is suitable for less amount of data. Is very large, so the data is stored in multiple tables and the tables are linked using a common field. So that is the relational data. Next, coming on to the concept of database. A database management system is a software package with computer programs that controls the creation, maintenance and use of database. So if we talk about database, or basically a collection of pieces of information that can be accessed or managed, like example we have discussed. Now to access that database we need, so you can see in the picture over here, user wants to access a database, so that cannot happen directly. So DBMS acts as interface. DBMS is composed of two terms, DB and MS. So DB means database and MS is management system. So a system that manages the database is DBMS. So if the user will communicate to the database management system, and database management system will accordingly retrieve the data from the database and then send it back to the user. So a database basically consists of number of fields, and that fields they contain individual pieces of data, and the tables of the database is basically a group of fields. So when creating a table we also determine the characteristics of each field. If we talk about data servers, then these are basically dedicated computers that hold the actual databases and they run only on the DBMS and databases available on the database servers are accessed through either the command line or graphic user interface tools. These are known as the front-end tools. Some common database servers are Oracle, IBM DB2, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Access, PostgreSQL, MySQL, Fox Pro and SQLite. Now coming on to the advantages of database. First is reduced data redundancy. So what do you mean by redundancy? Redundancy or redundant data means a file-based data management system. It contains multiple files, and if that are stored in different locations, then what happens is that the chances of redundancy increase. In case of DBMS, this is not happening because in a single database all the data is there. So if any change is there, it is reflected immediately. So because of this, the encountering of duplicate data is not there. Then next is data sharing. Now in database, what happens is the users of the database, they can share the data amongst themselves. Various levels of authorization is given. We can access the same database. Suppose if we talk about the database of your school, that is ERP. So it is the same ERP that is accessed by the administrator, teachers and students. But the level of authorization is different. All the power of adding teachers and students and everything. Teachers, they have lesser powers than admin. They can upload marks and all, and students, they cannot edit anything, they just view those marks. So this is what data sharing is, and the authorization level differs. Data inconsistency is reduced. Now data consistency means that there is no redundancy over there in the database. So obviously we have discussed that in database redundancy is not there, so that means the data stored in the database is consistent, and all the data that appears across the database to each level of user, whatever is the same. I enter the marks in the ERP, that only will be shown to the students because consistency is there. Then next is improved data security. Now data security is a very important feature, and it is a very powerful feature of database. Only authorized users are allowed to access the database. If you are not an admin, then you cannot access the options that are not available. Everyone has a username and password for the ERP account, so unauthorized users cannot access that database. Then improved data access and privacy. So the privacy in database means that authorization is there and authorized user access with some privacy constraints, and there are various levels of it. For example, in social networking sites, access constraints are different for different accounts a user may want to access. Then next is data integrity. Data integrity basically means that the data, whatever is entered in the database, is accurate and consistent. So it is very important, as there are multiple databases in a DBMS. So all the databases contain the data that is visible to multiple users. So it is very necessary to ensure that data is consistent, correct for all the users. Next is backup and recovery. Database management system automatically takes care of the backup and recovery, so there is no need to backup and data. It restores the database if any crash or system failure is there in its previous condition. The next topic is features of database. First is query ability. So the users who are not having any technical skills, they can also work on the database management system, and the query language is provided by the DBMS only, and it is very easy to understand. So if you want to update data, insert data, delete and search, then it is very easy with the help of those queries. Any non-programming user can also do it. Backup and replication, like we have discussed, that big companies, they maintain database system, so that backup is very important for them in case there is any loss of information or any crash. So in that case, the data has to be recovered. Security. So security is like handling the database only to the authorized users, and the DBA, that is the database administrator, that person has the full power, multi-user control. Now in DBMS, users can access all kind of data and information stored in one store. So there are certain limits that users can access or view particular data according to the rights given to them. So basically it's not that it is limited to one user only. Various users can access the database at a same time according to the authorization access they have been given. Then permanent storage of data. DBMS, it stores all the files permanently, and there is no chance of any loss of data. And even though somehow the data gets lost, then obviously it has the backup and recovery method with which we can have the data back. Next is the concept and examples of relational database. So basically a relational database consists of a collection of tables that stored interrelated data. So in RDBMS, what happens is that the data that is stored in the form of tables. So the tables are basically made up of rows and columns, and RDBMS is based on the relational model that was introduced by Dr. E.F. Cord of IBM San Jose Research Laboratory. The rows are known as tuples, the columns are known as attributes, and the table is known as relation. Let us look at some of the concepts of RDBMS. So first one is table. So the data in RDBMS is stored in database objects that are known as tables. Table is basically a collection of related data entries, and it consists of numerous columns and rows. A database can have many tables. Now each column is assigned a specific data type, such as integer or a sequence of characters, and each row in the table has a value for each column. For example, we have this customers table over here. Here you can see ID, name, age, address and salary are given, and the values are given over here. So next is fields. Every table is broken up into small entities called fields, and each field contains only one type of information. Now if we talk about the customers table over here, we have the fields like ID, name, age, address and salary. And if we talk about the ID field, then only the ID values will be there. If we talk about name field, then only the name values will be there. So only one type of information is there in a field. Next is record. So one row of data that contains values. So you can see in the screenshot over here, like if we talk about this one Ramesh 32 Ahmedabad and 2000. So this is a record. It is for an individual entry. Next, coming on to the concept of keys: primary key, candidate key and composite primary key and foreign key. So first of all, a key, basically a DBMS key is an attribute, or it can be a set of attributes which helps you to identify a row, that is a tuple, in a relation, that is a table. So they will allow you to find the relation between the tables, and keys help you to uniquely identify rows in a table by combination of one or more. Now there are various type of keys. First is primary key. It is a column in a table that uniquely identifies every row in a table. So primary key can't be duplicated, and every table has only one primary key. So now if we see this example over here, we can see STUID, roll number, first name, last name and email ID are the fields over here. So if we talk about STUID or roll number, so these are unique, means these are not repeated. So we can say that STUID or roll number can be a primary key. So but a table can have only one primary key, so either we can choose STUID as the primary key or roll number as the primary key. Moving on to the next topic, candidate key. Now each table has only one primary key, and each relation can have one or more candidate key. Now basically the keys that can be candidate to become a primary key, all those keys are known as primary key. So one of the candidates become the primary key. Like in this example, if we look over here, then STUID is also unique, roll number is also unique, and email ID for a person will also be unique. So STUID, roll number and email are the candidates to become a primary key. Now out of these, only one key we will select, that will be the primary key. So STUID we have selected, that is the candidates key. Are STUID, roll number and email. The properties of candidate key: unique values must be there. The candidate key, it must have multiple attributes, that is multiple column values are not allowed, and it should contain minimum fields to ensure uniqueness, and it should identify a record uniquely in a table. The next type of key is composite primary key. Now composite primary key or composite key, it refers to cases where more than one column is used to specify the primary key of a table. It can be a candidate key or primary key. Now columns that make up the composite key can be of different data types. For example, here in the table if we see, quarter ID has unique values, student ID is also having unique values, and course ID is also having unique values. Student ID and course ID together, if we combine this, then this combination is known as composite primary key, because these will help us to uniquely identify a record in a table. Alternate key is also known as secondary key. It is basically a key that is associated with one or more columns whose values uniquely identify every row in the table, but which is not the primary key. Now alternate key is the key that has not been selected to be the primary key. Like if we talk about this example over here, STUID, roll number, first name, last name, email, then STUID is the primary key and roll number and email alternate becomes key. Why? Because roll number and email ID, they also have unique values. We have not chosen them as the primary key, so that is why they are the alternate keys. In the screenshot also we can see the representation, like STUID is the primary key. For primary key are STUID, roll number and email, because they are having unique values. So these qualify to become a primary key. And out of these STUID, since we have chosen as primary key, so now roll number and email will become the alternate key. Moving on to the last type of key, that is foreign key. Foreign key is a column that creates a relationship between two tables. So if we talk about foreign key, then we need to have two tables over there. So the purpose of foreign key is basically to maintain data integrity and allow navigation between two different instances of an entity. It acts as a cross-reference between two tables as it references the primary key of another table. So in the example you can see over here, department code and department name, this is one table, and teacher ID, department code, F name, L name, this is another table. Now both the tables are related by a single department column. So the column should be the same in both the tables. So if we want to combine the data of these two tables, in order to relate both the tables, we should have one attribute in both the tables with which we can reference or relate the two tables. So that common column is known as your, so in this example, department code is the foreign key because it is the common column in both the tables. So this was all about session 1. Thank you.